Johnson.
Welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, joined for the Matchday Bulletin by Lawrence Conley. I always love watching the game with you, Lawrence, even though a lot of the games we watched last season, were not memorable ones. I'm looking at that today. We'll go through it blow by blow. It's the third game, I feel, that we have clicked the control button on. Motherwell, Ferencvaros, St Johnstone, controlled all three games, won all three games 2-0. Loads of talking points in the second half, but we appreciate that a lot of people only tune into the post-match, so we'll need to cover the full game. But we'll do it backwards. We'll start with the second half, having already covered the first half at half-time. Total control, 3 games in a row. There was this term that was being overused up to a few weeks ago called Ange Ball. People thought it was free-flowing, rip-roaring, never boring, Glasgow Celtic. Is it that, or is it more this controlled passing game, not panicking, sticking to your game plan and ultimately coming away fairly comfortably, as we have done in the last 3 games now?
Listen, we're definitely getting rid of the feeling of panic at the back when we're passing the ball about. I don't know if it's because of playing more together, we're just getting used to it. Maybe it's a support saying, look, these guys can do this. The guys are growing confidence, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, the way Cam Davidson set up his team had a lot to do with it, but they go in the first 5 minutes of both halves, then parks the bus. It's still 1-0 away. 20, 15 minutes to go, and then he thinks, right, we'll go and try and nick one. That's what anyone's going to come here and do, but it's hard to break down. But Celtic found a way, didn't they? There's a lot of positives to take from that. Giakoumakis, opens his account. Jota, another outstanding display. Yeah. Listen, we don't even need to mention Tony Ralston anymore. We know he's a good game. Mikey Johnson comes on and does well.
For the second game?
Aye. Juranovic penalty.
Oh, called it, didn't we?
Technique. Aye. It's and geez, it wouldn't be a weekend if the ref wasn't making bad decisions.
We will also have a dig deep into those decisions. And in particular, there was one incident, because when you were talking there, I was thinking, right, we'll run from the back and we'll run through the team. There's not much to say about Joe Hart. He didn't really have a great deal to do, but he did get involved in calming down Cameron Carter-Vickers after he was kicked, punched, and then booked for his trouble. That level of refereeing, there was a point there when we won the penalty. The referee had completely lost control of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it played advantage for Phil and Kyogo. There's then a Phil, 4 or 5 yards outside the box, plays advantage, but comes back almost to the halfway line, and you're going, if I'm not sure that's advantage. And then we flash an opportunity and get a penalty. But he just didn't know what was going on, did he? Saying that we could add another pen after that. It's only a two-handed push by the keeper on. You're thinking, well, ref, if that's not a pen, what is? And yeah, he's got a decent shout at the end as well. After Mikey Johnson's hit the post, comes back out, it looks like he's going to get it, and it looks like the Johnson boy just bowls him over.
Listen, I rate the goalie. I think he is an excellent keeper. But the way that he was screaming for a handball after Polaks and Jota just minutes before, I just thought, wind your neck in. Let's have a look at the league table at the moment, because we are stringing a run of results together, Lawrence, which has meant that although we're still sitting fourth in the table, we're on 19 points. The 3 teams above us are all on 20, and they are Dundee United, Rangers and Hearts, who top the league. Hearts top the league. Rangers, of course, play tomorrow. They've got a game in hand. Celtic have superior goal difference to anyone else in the division. And as we said at the beginning of the show, we were in a position where Celtic had won 50% of their games. Ange was coming under a lot of criticism. Has he weathered the storm?
Yeah, listen, sometimes you've got to run your own race, as he says, isn't it? We can see the performances are improving as we get players back and he's getting options. Hopefully it continues like this for the rest of the season, but we have been warned by our Antipodean friends that there's going to be some ups and downs to come for the rest of the season. But things are certainly looking a lot better than they were after his first few games. Hearts top in the league. Geez, they must have been thinking, if only we could have got a result in the south side of Glasgow, the Hearts must be thinking, what if, But it's looking like an interesting season. 4 teams separated by a point. Well, certainly we've come over a real bad patch of form and a bad injury crisis that we had, which probably caused the bad patch of form. Winning 2-0 comfortably in the last 3 games, looking controlled. The defence is looking settled. We're starting to get options up front. Great finish for the first goal. Great finish. Tony Ralston built that ball across, and Giakoumakis, classic finish.
I think the big thing for me, Lawrence, is options. Kyogo, I don't think many people will argue the case that he is less effective when played out wide. You spoke about a change at half-time where you said, if you bring off Giakoumakis for Abadan and bring Kyogo into the centre, that's exactly what happened. That's his strongest position. But that's an option we didn't have against the likes of Midtjylland and in the earlier games. I mean, we spoke earlier about how and I know that the world doesn't work like this, but we could be better prepared going into these European qualifiers. We know that when they're played every single season, but if we were to play Midtjylland now, this week, it'd be a different game altogether. We've
Definitely
got more options.
I mean, there's something Ange said, though, is like, he said we'll never go into a game as badly prepared as again. And he'd taken the blame for it. He said, look, it's my fault. I didn't persuade them how quickly and how many players we needed in. So, he's definitely leading from the front, isn't he? He's saying it's down to him. The football's down to him. Might not be an accountant, but he certainly looks like a decent football manager.
When we were talking about this style of play that we actually had been told about from Ange, I share a lot of that press conference. I've been drip feeding that on the Twitter feeds over the last few months, and he spoke about the entertaining football that he likes to play. He spoke passionately about his late father and the type of football he would like to play, and that's basically the way that he approaches his football. Lawrence, he wants to play football that would please his late father. He liked entertaining football. That's all fair and well, but I think the biggest issue was that we weren't getting the results. We weren't stringing a run of games together, which we now are. And I know that when you look at the fact that we're only 10 games in the league, we're 60% win rate in the league. We're a point behind, and I know that Rangers play tomorrow. When we talk about the other teams in the league and the fact that obviously Hearts, newly promoted, are currently sitting top, fair play to them. Dundee United maybe haven't been getting as much credit as Hibs, who are now sitting in 5th position, 4 points behind Celtic. Dundee United's start to the season has been hugely impressive as well. When I've seen this happen in all the years that I've watched Celtic and Scottish football, whenever there's a team that challenges early doors, and I remember the famous or perhaps infamous season where Hearts went 12 games unbeaten under George Burley, and the season absolutely collapsed after that. I think that when you're looking at it, if Hearts, Hibs or Dundee United go into January and they're still there or thereabouts, the key is, can and would they strengthen? Because generally, there's 1 or 2 players who would leave these clubs. And Hibs have already admitted that they would potentially lose 1 or 2 of their star players. Nisbet might be one of those players. He really hasn't kicked on this season. Hearts at the top of that division, the worst thing that could happen for their chances of pushing this title challenge longer would be if they lost 1 or 2 of their star performers. And that's always been the issue, Lawrence, because Celtic and Rangers, going into January, would be looking to strengthen, I would guess. Hearts, Dundee United, Hibs might not. And I think that's where they fall foul. Do you think that's going to be a repeat of that this season?
Yeah, I think Hibs done well to keep a hold of the squad last season. It's, I suppose, for them, even just keeping a hold of what they have, is sometimes the success never been able to strengthen. And it's the level they can strengthen it as well, how much money they can spend, isn't it? It's, obviously we are the richest club in Scotland. Hopefully, I know we don't traditionally spend a lot in January, but hopefully this January is different. We've spoken earlier shows about, if we can keep in touch until Christmas, because there's been such a big turnover in players. We've got a new manager in. We could be in a chance of the league if we're in touch by Christmas. still in touch at the moment, and we're getting better week in week. That'll give us the opportunity to strengthen, won't it?
Yeah.
Kick on.
See the big thing, Lawrence, and again, it's not about being entitled as a Celtic supporter. It's about the fact that we set a certain level, a certain standard over a period of 9 seasons, which you then expect from the club. And those standards dropped dramatically last season, and we didn't win anything, and we didn't deserve to win anything. But going into this season with the changes and bringing in a new manager, all season I've been talking about the title. I've never once thought that second would ever be anything other than nothing. It never is in Glasgow. And Shankly said it never was in Liverpool. Second best is nothing. And it's true. So I've never ever resigned myself to lowering those standards. I've always said that we need to win the league, and anything less than that's unacceptable. We had a few discussions over the last few months, and in particular, Kevin made that very point. He says, as long as we're in touching distance of the leaders. And that doesn't sit right with me. I'm not comfortable with that. And that's not being entitled. That's because, for me, that's not good enough. When we're looking at what Celtic are doing now, and I don't think they're grinding out results. It's not as though, we're scoring a late goal against the run of play. We're controlling games now, and we're coming away with the results that we deserve. Lawrence, and if we can continue to do that this season, I don't see why Celtic shouldn't be aiming towards winning the title in Ange Postecoglou's first season. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
No, definitely. I think what he's managed so far, the way he's brought the team together, the players he brought in, they're starting to click, we're getting performances. 1 point off the top, potentially 4 after tomorrow, who knows? But, he's given himself a platform to go on and win it. If it stays this way, we're within 1 or 4 points at the top. The January transfer window, I think we've got every right to think we should go on and win the league from there.
And also, you've got every right, after the first game of the season, and for the first time since the 97-98 season under Wim Jansen, we lose the opening game. You've got every right to criticise Ange and the team after that game. Of course you do. You've got every right, after going to Livingston and getting beat 1-0 from a team who were bottom of the league, to criticise the performance. And I think that you've got every right, after losing the first game against Rangers at Ibrox, to be very disappointed. Although I wasn't that critical after the game, because I thought that there was very fine margins in that game. And we've spoken about the change of Kyogo from left to central, which was key in the last 20 minutes of that game. And had we played him through the centre, probably instead of Edouard that day, Lawrence, we probably would have had a different result. So I don't think there's an issue. I'm not rewriting history here. I think that whilst I was critical after the Hearts and the Livingston games, Lawrence, I think it was justified. And I also think it's justified to reassess where we are now and say, I want, and I think that it's a decent ambition this season to win that league. Let's run through some of the comments that are coming in. Thanks for joining us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, and elsewhere. Anywhere else where there is a platform, we will be on it. Paddy Lavery, thanks for joining us. Ralston seems to care for Kyogo like a big brother would. The guy's a legend. Absolutely. I think there's a couple of legends developing in there. And Duncan Cameron comes in to say, take the points and move on to midweek. Job done. Absolutely. That's how I feel. Not pretty, but effective, reckons Joe Fulham. And Joe Porter points out another clean sheet becoming the norm at Celtic. And that leads me on to the defence. I want to start off with Starfelt. We gave a lot of love and a lot of praise to Tony Ralston in the pre-match and at half-time, Lawrence. But let's have a wee chat about Starfelt. First 3 points I made in that second half were all positives, and the fact that Starfelt was doing his defensive play and doing it very, very well.
Yeah. Well, listen, we know he knows how to defend, how to intercept balls, how to win tackles. He's decent in the air. And he's playing out of position. He's a right-hand centre back playing on the left, which I think sometimes it looks a wee bit unnatural when he goes to play the ball with his left. Maybe that's why he gets a bit of criticism. It just doesn't look right. But he's definitely got a decent partnership with big CCV, isn't he?
Yes. There's a few times, I think, and I'm not going to use the term that I used, I think he's very uncomfortable when he's trying to pass the ball with his left foot. It seems very laboured. I think that when he's doing the instinctive defensive play, Lawrence, he's very effective. He can win balls, he can win headers. I think he likes a battle. There was some criticism after the Aberdeen game that he was a bit out-muscled. Didn't see that today. I thought he went toe to toe and he was solid today. To be honest with you.
Yeah, definitely. There's a couple of times he covered up over it, kind of left back area for Juranovic when he was caught out of position. But he stood up to everything. I thought it was a great performance by him. He's definitely grown into it, isn't he? I don't think he's got a challenger for left-hand centre back either. I don't think you're saying play somebody else instead of him.
Well, this is the thing. Who is next in line? And it's probably Liam Scales. Liam Scales can play left centre back. Yes, he can play left back and he can play attacking mid on the left-hand side. But, Starfelt, for me, has come into a game. It was a very difficult introduction where he was playing alongside Beaton, then Welsh, then Cameron Carter-Vickers. But I think he's now found his partner. And I think they're a very effective partnership. Do they lack a bit of pace, perhaps? Is that one concern that you might have for them?
Yeah, definitely on the turn. They do seem to lack a wee bit of pace, but hopefully they're reading the game. If they read the game right, they can make up for a lack of pace, can't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the third 2-0 in a row. It's hard to criticise your centre halves or say anything bad about it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But Carter Vickers picking up a booking. What's he thinking?
What, for getting booted?
Well, but kicked and punched. It's
this is becoming something that we keep saying. We've won the game. We're very happy with the performance, and it's at that moment in time that you shine a light on the poor officiating of the games. There was definitely a game last season where Nick Walsh was abysmal refereeing a Celtic game, and I wrongly said to you in the second half that it was a Dundee United game at Tannadice when Ayeti scored the winner, because that was Andrew Dallas. But put it in the comments if you can remember. He was dreadful in a game last season, and he was dreadful today. Absolutely abysmal. Completely lost control of the game, Lawrence. And there's a couple of times where you think, what do you need to do to get sent off against Celtic?
Yeah, totally. I mean, if his first kick, the whistle hasn't went, it certainly went by the second kick. And, after that, he raises his hands. So you think,
and who's in the thick of it? Tony Ralston.
Aye, Tony will sort him out. Don't worry about it. And, for a keeper pushing you up, there's no...
Two hands.
Yeah, yes. What is it that's not a penalty about this? The keeper's obviously, the ball's out. He's lost the ball. He's got a rush of blood to the head because he's a decent big keeper, and he's decided, I'm going to push it all over here. I mean, Jota was going away from goal if he gets the ball, isn't he? He's not got too much to worry about. And the ref's just, that's okay. There's nothing to see here. I'm not seeing Ayeti's one back after Johnstone hits the post, but that looks like a pen as well. It's and even the penalty, when we got the penalty, it's played advantage from Ambrose, well done. But then there's an awful at the edge of the box. It says play advantage, but we end up with the ball going back towards the halfway line, and then we fashion a chance and get a pen. But right, the keeper, the ref's completely lost it, isn't it? By that stage, it's
absolutely
almost anything goes.
No, you're right. A couple of points I want to bring up. We're going out live to over 1,000. So thank you all for tuning in on the various platforms. Some people sometimes think that we're all about the YouTube, but just to let you understand, all comments filter into one comments field on the system that I use. And we get more viewers and therefore more comments on YouTube. So, the average would say that, the low averages would say that more comments are going to come up. But if you are watching on one of the other platforms, please comment, and we'll endeavour to bring those comments up as well. You and Boy Martin reminds us that it's reminiscent of the 97-98 season under Vim. And we all know how that season ended. Well, I had spoken about the similarities in terms of the level of the rebuild, Lawrence, and I actually referred back to the John Barnes era, and how after that particular season, O'Neill had a massive job in his hands to rebuild the club, and I was looking at more from that respect. But the Wim Jansen season, there certainly are parallels, and if it ends up with us winning the league, then I will be more than happy with that result. Another comment coming in from AJSC Technology Videos, who reckons that no way can we expect to win the league just yet. We could draw in Edinburgh and become 6 behind. Although what I would say is Hibs have kind of gone off the boil in recent weeks. And I'm actually going into that game at Easter Road not brimming with confidence, but I'm quietly confident.
Well, who would be the form team just now? You know, I think we've been through a bad patch. We're looking good. We're talking about still being in touch. The January transfer window, if we're still, within 4 points of the top of the league and we strengthen, I think you've got every right to expect to go on and win the league from there. It's whether we do or not, it's a different matter. But I think any team that's within 4 points of the top, that's the richest club in their country, and can strengthen, and if they've got the second half of the league campaign going, they should. I think it's quite reasonable to expect to go on and win it. Whether it'll be maybe what he's alluding to, it'd be some achievement for Ange to actually do that in his first season, to change so many players, to go through such a bad. I mean, lost 3 games in the league
all the behind the scenes turmoil, Lawrence. The CEO who was a big part in the negotiations to bring him here leaves after 72 days.
No head of recruitment.
No head of recruitment.
No head of sports science
for months.
Comes in.
Yeah. We ran from June till Anton McElhone was appointed months later, without that key element in the backroom team. No director of football. We don't even know if that's still the plan.
We don't know if that's going to be the structure. We just know, another review, this time Gordon Strachan's review, because we had a review.
What happened to that January one? Never heard back for that, did we?
I think it's in the round file.
But it's in the same drawer that Benitez's CV is when Neil Lennon got that job. Mark Riley, all right, Paul John, old pal. If it's the same Mark Riley that I think it is, I hope you're well, sir. Ange always sounded focused and had a great vision that I subscribe to. But our impatient desire to return to greatness exposed our frustration. Our eyes have been opened. I get that. I totally get that. I think there was a huge amount of frustration. It kind of boiled over from last season, Lawrence. There was a hangover from last season, wasn't there?
Listen, there definitely was. With what was lost, there's not been at games. I suppose close season, we could see the repeated mistakes we've done before. Even the manager mentioned it, but we weren't getting players in quick enough. We could all see we needed more players and we needed them quickly to prepare for the Champions League. So you can understand why people were frustrated. We could beat Nietzscheland. We've touched on it earlier in the show, but this is a team we should be beating. So I think it's understandable frustration. But, Ange is turning it around, isn't he? I think we've all liked his vision. No one said, oh, no, we don't want this attacking football. Everyone buys into his vision. It's a vision made for Celtic, isn't it? To play an attacking, winning brand of football. But again, we're fans. We want to win every game, don't we? Whether I think it was Frimpong says it's reasonable or not, it doesn't matter. As Celtic fans, on our side, we find that reasonable that we should be winning every game.
There's a lot of players that come to Celtic and can't live with that, Lawrence. They can't live with it because it's something that's never been indoctrinated into their football upbringing, whereby they've been at clubs where a draw or even a defeat here and there is acceptable. It's never accepted at Celtic. And that's why last season was so hard to take, because we were watching a club that I felt after Brendan Rodgers-Clarkson alert, after the introduction of Rodgers and a lot of the things he implemented behind the scenes, that he had built something that a manager could step into and continue with. And I just felt last season that it was falling around their ears, everything that had been implemented in a very short space of time. But I've got to say there was an interesting discussion on Thursday with JP and I love catching up with JP on a Thursday on the Bulletin, because he did say a few times, and he got huge criticism for saying it, by the way, that he had agreed in part on one of the points Neil Lennon made in relation to the fans not being in the ground. Because at the time, a lot of Celtic fans, me included, thought that Lennon was just clutching. He was clutching at straws. And I remember JP saying it. He says, actually, I think that's massive in terms of Celtic.
I wouldn't agree with him. You can't have all these players come in and say, like, the drive is on. Doesn't matter what decade they've played in. They've said, it's the fans. They're there and they're always there. The drive is on. You got opposition players saying, playing in front of those fans, what a stadium, what an atmosphere. Mm-hmm. So you can't have it being the best atmosphere and then having no effect. There's definite effect. I don't think it was the sole reason, but I think, it was a big part of it.
Yeah.
without fans, football's nothing. You know, Celtic is the fans, isn't it?
So that's what Sir Matt Busby said. Eh? Right, here we go. Stevie Gow. Stevie Gow. Rangers fans have Clyde Super Scoreboard and Sports Sound to listen to. We have ACSOM. Thanks for tuning in, Stevie. When we were doing in London, I'm not going to regale you with all the tales, Lawrence. That would just that would fill a whole show. But we were being approached by fans of other teams down south and further afield. You were talking to our friends over in Rotterdam, who had actually come over to the award ceremony, and they were bigging us up as well.
Yeah, loved it. You know, even on the train away down, you know, I was getting messages from people at Chelsea Football Club. I don't know who they are, but you know, they're saying, "Good luck."
Brilliant.
I'm like, brilliant. You've got the number for somewhere.
Lovely. And we'll keep it going. And the big thing I keep saying is these live streams, the reason that we do them live is because it's live and interactive. And what we will do in the future, once our Kelvin is back in the room, is we'll set it up so that it's not going to look like a dial-in. It's not going to, even though Lawrence and I are both in the studio, it looks like a dial-in, something that you would see at work on a Zoom call, a conference call. So we're going to set it up so that we're sitting at the bar watching the game basically through there on the one screen, and it's just going to look a wee bit better as well aesthetically. So we will always strive to try and improve what we're doing and keep you guys interested. And about 1,100 of you are interested just now. You are watching it live. Thank you very much. Pat comes in. Pat Jaranovic can hit from 12 yards. Can't he just? That boy can take a penalty, Lawrence.
Yeah, but we talked about it before kickoff, almost prophetic, eh? They were saying, you know, that's a boy. What technique he's got, and you know, if you're looking at his line up, he gives the keeper the eyes. He kind of looks to the left bottom corner as he's looking at it, and then places it in the other corner.
Absolutely. Now, I've asked for comments to come in from some of the other platforms because all I'm seeing is the wee YouTube logo, and there is a Facebook one coming in, so I've got to bring it up. Again, not sure who it is, but thank you for getting involved on Facebook. Kane, what an absolute disgrace. Cannot be allowed to get away with that. Well, it's as clear as day to myself and anybody else watching that, Lawrence.
Well, the compliance officer has been fairly quiet in some issues. You know, that in the Premiership this year that you thought, they'll be up in front of the compliance officer for that, and just doesn't seem to review it. You know, let's see if he reviews this, but whoever Nick Walsh's boss is, if he's not pulling in after our performance, if he's not dropped down the division, well, where's his motivation to improve? Because it can't be allowed. It's just unacceptable.
It's poor. It's incompetent. And we were obviously glad of the win, but on another day, when it's 1-0, you start asking yourself, are these decisions only being made in this way because he knows that St Johnstone are still in this game at 1-0, Lawrence? And it does concern me because I think it's really poor performance time after time after time, and we'll keep calling it out. And it's not a conspiracy. I mean, it's very objective. This is what's happened. We've all seen it. And it's a poor decision, and it's a poor performance. Daniel Steen, welcome to the show. Great show, boys. New to the game and your channel here in Australia. Now a Celtic and ACSOM fan for life. The power of Ange. The power of Ange. We're talking about that during the game launch, and the amount of people tuning in from Australia, Canada, America, and Japan. And it's going up all the time. Jared Hill. Yeah.
Jared from the Boys from Down Under podcast is sharing their stuff out there in Oz.
Good lad, Jared. We'll get him back on a regular basis. I realise that we're a bit running out of time here. It's 28 minutes in, but there's plenty more to discuss. And I think that it would be remiss of us to go through the post-match without talking about Giakoumakis. I mean, I think we had seen 50-odd minutes over a period of 3 substitute appearances, but already he started interesting the Celtic fans. He was impressing us, Lawrence. Yep. We've seen his first start today. And he got a cracking opening goal to open his Celtic account.
Listen, what technique? Because there's some amount of pace in that ball from Ralston. He knows the keeper's going to the keeper's right hand side, and he's put it the other way into the corner. You're thinking that's a top finish. He's managed to keep that down. Brilliant. It looks to unsettle their back line. St Johnstone have come here and before in recent seasons and look settled when we've thrown the ball into the box. I don't think they look too settled because I think they're worried about him. They know he's a danger at cross balls. So great performance from him. Before our option was a Yeti, and for whatever reason it's not working for him at Celtic. But we've now got options that you think, they could get us a goal. definitely. You know, the opposition need to worry about him. They need to worry about Kyogo. Doesn't matter who's going to be playing up front. Don't think he's done enough to take the centre forward shirt off of Kyogo yet. But it's good that he's putting in a performance, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is.
Another player that put in a cracking performance, Mikey Johnstone.
I'm just about to bring this up actually from Duncan Cameron, Lawrence, who says Mikey J looking sharper than ever. That's 2 games in a row he's looked sharp.
Aye, some of those balls in, and when he's hit the post, he's been really unlucky. You know, he's made that yard of space, he's curled it in, and another day it's inside the post and in. His crossing was great. He's beating players. He looks sharp. He looks fit. It's an option in the left that we didn't think we were going to have. I mean, when he first broke his first 2 seasons, it's something like a goal every 4 games. Was it 6 goals, 24 games, something like that? And more or less the same the next season. And the last couple of seasons, it's just blighted by injury, isn't it?
It has been. And, you know, another special mention, actually, because I don't think we've mentioned him on the podcast yet, for Karamoko Dembele, who's going in for surgery on his ankle. That was a horrific tackle in pre-season. So all the best to him, and hopefully he can come back in. But that seems to be a long-term issue. The question, I guess, around Mikey Johnstone is this his last throw of the dice? Is he in the last chance saloon? And I think he probably is this season. But he is showing certainly a willingness, and he's showing the product that he might have a future at Celtic, Lawrence.
Well, surely this is a manager for him. I mean, Ange comes with a reputation of developing young players. Mm-hmm. You know, if ever he needed a manager that could develop him, he's only 22, Johnson, just now. You know, he's much the same age as Jota, and I think there's like 2 or 3 weeks between them. It's the platform says we're weak on the left-hand side, so he's going to get game time.
Yeah.
Especially if he keeps performing like that.
Absolutely. Silky performer on his game. Brian O'Neill, possibly the Brian O'Neill who used to play for Celtic. And the season that I first had a season ticket, actually. In fact, I was at Brian O'Neill's debut. I'm sure his debut was against Spurs in a pre-season friendly under Liam Brady. I remember O'Neill scoring. It's probably not the same Brian O'Neill, but I'm going on a tangent. I remember him scoring a header for Scotland under 16 in the World Cup semi-final against Portugal. We're talking about Portuguese stars. The under 16 team that night at Tynecastle featured Figo. Scotland beat them 1-0. Brian O'Neill scored the header, put us into a World Cup final under Craig Brown. You'll remember it.
Oh, Dickoff up front.
Yeah, Eddie McGoldrick.
So who else made it? Dickoff, O'Neill. Who else made it of that team?
Oh, there was the goalie. Who was the big goalie? Jim. Was it Jim Watt? Somebody like that. There was a boy, Bain, that played for Dundee at the back. He was a centre half.
Also, they come up with Saudi.
Andy McLaren was part of that team.
Yes,
Andy McLaren was part of that team. Yeah,
definitely that. He's doing great work with street football.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we digress. Brian O'Neill, probably not the same Brian, but welcome to the show anyway. Another win, another step. We will challenge for the league honours this season. If Ange can add quality to the midfield, we'll finish off with that discussion then. When we move into January, where are we strengthening here? Because you mentioned Ayeti in the post-match today, Lawrence. I think Ayeti and Barkas have shown enough that we can't see a future for them at Celtic. Personally, Ayeti has just not worked out for him. I think that he has shown a willingness to get, fitter under Ange Postecoglou, but maybe the style or the shape that we're playing doesn't fit him. Barkas seems to have checked out weeks ago. He's played 1 game for Celtic this season. I don't think he'll play again. The other one that I think we might, offload might be Bolingoli. I've still got doubts about Bolingoli. How many do we bring in?
So, for me, if Ayeti moves, which I agree, we probably should be looking at moving, we'd still need to bring in 2 forwards. We really need a 4. I know Alan Morrison says perhaps Abada could play there. Well, maybe, but I'd still like to see 2 forwards coming in and Ayeti going out. Walking back to midfield, I thought Turnbull did a poor game today, and I think there's something just not right in midfield. As much as it's 3-2-0 in a row, I don't think he showed a lot. Big Logic, he's astounding us all playing week in, week out, isn't he?
He's an absolute wizard when he's on his game, and he can do things no one else on the park can do. I mean, he's through ball. For me, when Rogic is on form, he's one of those players that can unlock these packed defences, Lawrence. But I also think Turnbull is in a different way because he can pull something out the bag, like his goal against Motherwell. From distance.
Turnbull starts coming into the game a wee bit, puts a couple of decent crosses into the box, or drops balls over, kind of almost lobs mini lob in.
He likes that dink.
Aye, but for me, I didn't think he was doing enough. It's kind of 61 minutes into the game.
He's playing more football now than he ever has done for Celtic.
Aye. Look, listen, I know we're commentating, we're only seeing it on a TV screen, so it's hard to see exactly everything that's going on apart. It's not like the view you get when you're at the game, but for me, that's an area I'd be looking at strengthening, and whether that's just to get Cal Mack further forward, But at defensive midfield, maybe McCarthy comes good, maybe gets his fitness up. I know there's been rumours about the Brazilian boy, but yeah, I think midfield we need to strengthen. We're almost in November. Mikey Johnston's looked good the last 2 games, but he needs to keep it up. If not, I'd be thinking, well, on the left-hand side, we probably need another option then. But he's got another kind of 2 months to show us if he's going to be there or thereabouts, if he is going to keep up his performances. The
final position, because I can see us keeping Bolingoli actually, but I think the final position that we really need to look at is the fact that we've got players in Beaton, Sorrow and McCarthy who all play a similar role, or all would play a similar role in the team, and none of them at this moment in time is really contributing to the team. And I know that Beaton came on against Aberdeen, started the game at Pittodrie, thought he played pretty well. Should have done better at their goal if I'm going to be ultra critical, but I think he done pretty well. Sorrow's not been at the races this season. McCarthy's injuries are a concern. I think that's a key area. And in order to strengthen it, if you were to sell one of those players, it's not going to be McCarthy. He's just been given a 4-year deal. I don't think we'll sell Beaton. He's one of the most experienced players in a Celtic jersey. But then the question mark remains about Sorrow. It doesn't seem to be in his plans, does he?
He's had a couple of chances. He's never really grabbed it, has he? Not under Ange anyway. So I think if we are looking at this Brazilian boy and bringing him over, I think Sorrow would be the most likely casualty out of that.
How many Brazilians have we had playing for Celtic? Juninho, Rafael, and the 3 trialists. The
trialists on the scene. Yes, so 5.
They played in the reserves. They played in a game. Consul, one of the names was Consul because I wrote about them. They played against Partick Thistle or Motherwell, and it was a midweek game for the reserves at Celtic Park. And the attendance was given as 12,000. But if you dig out a Celtic view from that period, look at the actual terraces. They're mobbed. There's at least 26,000 in that stadium, not 12.
The old board's counting method of crowds.
Farah and Consul, there's 2 names that spring to my mind.
Which kickstarted Jinky's career, remember?
It did, because...
I must apologise to Davy Crines. It wasn't his granddad, it was his great uncle.
Right.
John Crines was Jinky's headmaster and used to drive him to Celtic Park.
Oh, lovely. The line that I'll never forget, and I'll probably forget it while I'm trying to paraphrase here, is after the game, Johnstone, who had gone to the game to watch the Brazilian trialists because there was a lot of red tape to get them over, he's in the toilet after the game in the Celtic changing rooms, and Jinky's standing in the toilet next to him, and he says to him that if he performed like that for Celtic, he wouldn't have to be looking for Brazilians.
Yep.
Because he was out of favour at that point. But Johnstone had seen something in wee Jinky, and the rest, they say, is history. I'm happy to finish the show off with a wee story about Jimmy Johnstone, Lawrence, and I'm happy that everybody has enjoyed today's game. Another 2-0 victory for Celtic. Thanks, everybody. 1,100 strong today, live on all the various platforms for getting involved. It's all about you guys tuning in, because whilst you tune in, we can continue to do this. And please subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. We're looking to increase the subscriptions and also the content. Loads coming up. All that's left for me to say is, once again, Lawrence Conley, always an absolute joy to join me on A Celtic State of Mind, and we'll see you back on Monday at 12:30.